Okay, everybody, let's do a short 3D tile sequence that includes a particle system. So it should be kind of fun. You'll need the star.psd that I included in a zip file on Blackboard with the videos. And you just need to make sure you unzip the zip file, okay? Take the Photoshop document out of there before you can really use it. All right, so let's create a new composition. Let's do this NTSC D1 square pixel, maybe not widescreen this time. I think just the regular will fit with that format well. And the duration, it's going to be short. Actually, I think I have this at 10 seconds. I think I'm going to change it to 0.5 seconds. And the background can be black. Okay. All right, let's import that star. So file, import, file. And I just have other junk in here, but it's star. And if it asks, there's really no reason for it to be a Photoshop document. It might as well be a JPEG. So just merge layers is fine. Okay. And let's import it. Okay. So it's big. So let's scale it down, S for scale, and type in 25. And just move it over to the left side of the screen there. Now let's put some type in, okay? So I'm gonna get my type tool, and I'm typing After Effects in all caps, okay? Now, I already have it set at about the right size. We want it to be white. So if you don't, you should see your character palette when you start typing. I'm in this the standard workspace. If you don't see the character palette, you can always go to Window Character and just get it from there. But we want impact for the font, and if you don't have impact, use some bold compressed font if you have one. You should be able to get impact, download it off the internet if you don't have it, but it's a pretty common font. 60 points, okay, and white. All right, so I'm just putting it here. And let's put a drop shadow on this. It'll make it stand out from the background, which we don't quite have yet. So effect, perspective, drop shadow, okay. And let's set the opacity to 100%. And the distance to 0. Okay, so that'll make it kind of more like a glow, right? A black glow around it because there's no distance to it. And the softness of around 10. All right. To be able to see that, you can turn on the transparency grid. That's actually should be down the bottom of your this area here. It looks like a little checker box, and it shows you what's transparent. Okay. Now, what we can do to make this a little bit more, a little bit darker, the easiest way is just to make sure drop shadow is the last thing you selected, and then just Control D. So now we have 2 of them. Okay. I'm going to turn that transparency grid back off because I get the idea. All right, let's see. Let's duplicate our type layer. So just make sure that's the last thing you clicked, and then Control D. All right, we can move it down a little bit. And let's get our type tool, highlight this, and we'll do basic. Basic in all caps, training in upper lowercase. And let's make this 70 points, a little bit bigger. And that's a pretty nice looking piece of text there. And just line them up so they're flush left there. It's possible that your type is centered in the paragraph palette, okay, as opposed to flush left, but it doesn't really matter as long as they're lined up there because we're going to pre-compose anyway. So let's do that now. I think we've mentioned this a little bit, but I don't know that we've used it. I think we used it once, pre-composing. So pre-composing takes a bunch of layers and makes them all like they're one thing. It's kind of like grouping right? It makes it puts them into a sub composition. So let's select our three objects, right? And just held down, click on one, shift click on the bottom one, all right? And and we'll go layer pre-compose down at the bottom, okay? And it should, and we can just call it logo, right? And it should say move all attributes into a new composition. Okay, all right. Let's see here. So we want to rotate this thing with the stars in the center. So let's use the pan behind tool to fix that. Okay, we could either use right anchor point. Let's use the pan behind tool. So that's this guy up here, right? And just drag this thing right to the middle of the star. Okay, and make sure you go back to your regular selection tool so you're not in the pan behind tool anymore. And let's make this thing now 3D, right? So we turn on the 3D switch, the little cube column there. So now this thing's 3D. Let's create a background. Layer, new, solid. All right. And we want it to be black. And we'll put it, let's put it below the logo. So drag it down there. And let's put a gradient ramp on here. So effect, generate, gradient ramp. Okay, so we want to make the, let's see, where it says linear ramp, we want it to be radial ramp, okay? And then you just, for start of ramp, it's X and Y. So Y is up and down, right? So you just drag that thing down until it's in the middle, all right? And you want your start color to be a nice dark green, okay? And the end color to be black. All right, that's looking pretty cool, right? Maybe make that a little bit darker. All right, so now let's make a camera. Layer, new, camera. And this one, let's put it on the 50mm preset. Okay, I'm not sure what yours will be on. It might be on like 35 or something. Just set it to 50mm. That adjusts all these things, so we can just, the presets make it so you don't have to twiddle with too much stuff. So, okay, so we have a camera. Doesn't matter really where it is in the stack in the layers area. Let's see. Now let's create the particle system. So we want to make a solid layer to put the particles on. That's how it works. So layer, new, solid. It'll be the comp size. And let's make it a light green color. So I'm in my same green, but I'm just moving it over here like this. Yeah. And and I should have named it particles when I did that, but I didn't think of it, so I'm going to hit enter now and call it. So on that layer, let's go, and it should be below the logo, right? Effect, simulation, CC particle world. All right, and you won't see anything at frame 0, but if you drag your current time indicator, you'll see kind of like a sparkler thing going on there. All right, I'm going to leave it here so I can see what it's doing. All right, so that's an effect. We got to make a whole bunch of adjustments here. So for grid and guide, we can turn off the grid and the, what else is here? Horizon, axis box, guess that's the only things that show, right? That doesn't matter, I don't think. We'll show in the render anyway. So let's see. So birth rate, you want it to be 1.5. Okay. And I got all this stuff on the text document. I'm actually following it here myself because I don't remember all these numbers to make it come out right. Longevity is 1.5. Okay. Let's see. Producer. Okay, the producer is the thing that that the particles come out of. So we're going to make it come out of a big box. They won't be spraying like this. They'll be like just particles floating in space, kind of. So we're making a big box, and that'll be the universe that will be inside, kind of. So there'll be particles all around us. And I'm going to give you 3 numbers, and just make sure that you put them in on the radius, not the position, because the position won't really do anything. It'll just move where they're coming from. But for radius x, we want it to be 2. For radius y, 1. And for radius z, 5. Okay, so it's kind of deep going back. And that should be big enough. So in physics, we can close the producer now. In physics, we want our animation to be, instead of explosive, we want it to be vortex. Okay, it's kind of spiraling up like sparks from a campfire or something. Velocity, okay, that should be right underneath there, 0.2. Oh, sorry, 0.02. So it's not moving very fast. Gravity, 0. Okay, it's possible, depending on various things, that your particles could disappear at the moment, but they should come back after we tweak a few more things. So let's go down to particle. So particle type, we want it to be lens convex. And birth size, underneath that, 0.1. So we have these things here. See this? They're kind of like just slowly flowing up like that. They look pretty cool. Now, one thing is that these things appear, and we want them already to be part of the universe, kind of. So, like, make your current time indicator at frame 0, and just slide this whole layer to the left until you get to where they're fully on. All right, and then just get on the end of it and drag it back this way to fill it back out again. Right, so that way we don't have to have them appearing. Okay, actually I need to do that a little bit more. Okay. All right. Let's add, oh, be sure to save this thing maybe at this point or as you're going along. Okay. Let's add a glow to the particles. So make sure you're on the particle layer and effects. Oh, let's see, what are we doing here? Stylize and then glow. And let's see. Glow based on alpha channel. Okay. That should work best. Set composite original to, see composite original on top. Okay, so that means the particle will be on top of the glow. Okay, it's weird to have the glow on top of the particle. I don't know why that would be the default. Make color B green. Okay. See what that looks like. I just made it a bright green. Make sure the particles are below the logo if you didn't already. Let's see, did I set everything right? So you should be able to see the nice glow on the particles, right? nothing super extreme, but and it's possible that yours might be a little different than mine. So, you know, just you may have to twiddle the dials a little bit, but with leaving everything at the default settings, other than the changes I told you, I think it should look pretty good. All right. Now we're going to animate the camera and animate the text, or animate our logo. So one good way to animate a camera is to make a null object. It's just basically a square or a cube in your scene that you can rotate around, and the camera will be like fixed to it. It's sort of a simple way to control the camera. So let's go layer, new, null object. Okay, and then we have null one. And we want to make that 3D. So turn on the little 3D box. You don't have to turn on 3D for particles because they're already 3D. And same as the camera, it's not an option. The black background, we don't want it to be 3D. So you want to have your parent column visible here, parent and link. Let's see, it's possible that it's not showing. It's showing on in every configuration for me. So you click these little things down the bottom here to hide and show groups of columns. If you don't see parent and link, just right click here and go to columns, and you should see parent and link. Okay. All right. We want to link the camera to the null object. So you can just adjust the, you know, what it says here, but one cool way to do it is to use the pick whip. It's this little spiral thing. So we drag in, make sure I'm following my directions here. The camera to the null, right? So child to parent. And then if I were to, like say, rotate the null object, the camera rotates, right? Okay. All right, let's go to like around 1 second into this thing, all right? And we're gonna animate the camera for starters. So for the null object, let's turn on position keyframe, all right? And then go to frame 0 and adjust your Y, whoops, your Z number until it goes, oh, I got a big particle there. Until it goes off like that. I'll see that. Okay, so we move the camera. So part of this thing, we're going to move just the logo, and part of the thing we're moving the camera. So sometimes you'll see the whole universe of particles moving, and other times you won't. All right, let me make sure I'm doing everything we're supposed to be doing here. All right, so the motion is a little bit abrupt or too kind of machine-like. We want it to decelerate slightly when it comes into a key. So you can just click on this key here, and if you just hit F9, right? See how it turns into like a little hourglass? That's like easy ease, it's called, or it just slows down as it enters and exits that keyframe. You can also like right-click on the keyframe and go to keyframe assistant and choose easy ease there. But all right, so let's rotate the logo. So we'll go a little bit past, you know, a few frames past this position. And with the logo selected, let's turn on R for rotation. And turn on keyframing for orientation. Okay. When you have stuff 3D, you have X, Y, and Z and this orientation thing. So I usually just use orientation because they're all right there. And let's move a bit further in time. Okay, we can adjust these times later. and make the Z 90 degrees. So it should go like that. That's cool. All right, now we're going to zoom the camera. So on the same key as the last frame of the rotation, okay, go back to your null, and let's drop a keyframe for position, right? So we already have, don't turn off the keyframe for position because we've already put stuff in there, right? So it's just to drop a key at the current time. It's this thing, right? You got to remove keyframes at the current time. So we drop a key there, okay? And then we'll move a little further in time, all right? And for the null object, we want to zoom in Z until the logo goes off the screen. Like that. All right, so we have it's going to be awesome. Let's make another text item here, okay? So we can get it from our logo comp. So just if you double click on logo, all right, you should see it. It should open in a new tab here. And we'll just highlight this word After Effects. Okay, actually, let's just select it with the selection tool, okay? And Control C. Then we'll go back to your tab for the regular comp and Control V. And there's After Effects. Now let's make it 3D, okay? Turn on 3D. All right, so you want to position the text in Z so it looks like the correct size after the camera has zoomed in. So I'm going to go P for position. And I'm going to drag the Z number because it's too big now, right? I'm going to put it back, kind of like how the other one looks, something like that. And let's animate its transparency from 0 to 100% at the same time as the camera zooms. So like, we want to make it become opaque from here to here. Okay, and it looks like it should be a little bit bigger. So let's see. I just think you may not. I think I made a little bit too small. Not that important. All right. Anyway, let's see. Here's our can't make up my mind. Okay. Here's our zoom. So I start here, right? And After Effects, T for transparency, put it at 0, turn on keyframes, go to the end of the zoom, and it should be 100%. Pretty cool, right? All right, let's just put on a motion blur, and I think that that's all we'll need to do for this. So we'll put a motion blur on the whole scene. Make sure you save before you do this, because depending on your computer, motion blur can be kind of use a lot of system resources, and if you're going to crash, that's when it might happen. So they don't really work on particles, so we could put it on an adjustment layer above the whole scene. So make sure you're on the top layer, right? And layer, new adjustment layer. Okay, this is a blank layer that just lets us apply things to it that then will act kind of like as filters on stuff below it. Same concept exists in Photoshop. So on that layer, let's go effect, time, CC force motion blur. Okay, and let's see. Let's just change the blur samples to 16, just so it's a little sharp, a little cleaner looking. And now watch this. When I scrub this thing, see how it looks kind of like, when it's moving fast, it blurs. Okay. But you can see that it takes a little while to see if I can get that to play properly. Okay, so it still takes a little bit of time because the motion blur is still working just on particles. But yeah, that's it. That's a nice example of how of like a clean way to make a title sequence that uses particle systems in a way that's integral to the design. Looks good. So let's just render this thing out and hand that in. All right.